Yo, yo,
What's going on?
how are you?
Wait, hold on. Where am I? Hold on. Start video.
We're all here in New York City, ready for
What time is the
madness.
fireside chat? What time is that?
1 o'clock.
So psyched. I am so energized. I just got an accepted offer.
Nice.
I am so energized.
Come up next week so that me, you, and Dennis can sit down and start mapping out your videos.
150%. And can you teach me how do I do this otter pilot? I know he put it on my thing.
Are
I
you
gotta
coming to
figure that
the
out.
city today?
No, was I supposed to be coming to the city today? Oh, for the fireside? No, I just got an accepted offer and I'm trying to get one more and put another listing on. So I got to keep the momentum going here.
We can help you with your autopilot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good morning, Angela.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Good.
Gorgeous
This,
day, finally.
yeah, right.
Sure.
This fireside chat is going to be like a college house party because they just invited a bunch of people. We have no idea how many people are coming here.
I think it's going to be insane. I wish I was coming down there. Who else coming? I see all the pilot rocks on. I don't know why I call it pilot rock, but Potter
I see
pilot.
all the people that visited me recently in my office, in our office, just popping right up. See Mr. Pridemore.
Mr. Pridemore.
Do you know, fun fact, David, Scott Pridemore has the firmest handshake in America.
And
I
he
didn't
looks
know
you in the
that.
eye. And he
And
looks
he
you right
looks
in the
in the
eye.
He
eye.
does look you in the eye. There's not a more sincere guy on the planet. That's true.
How's it going, Scott?
Good morning. Sorry, I was muted.
Morning, Scott.
Good morning. How are you guys doing?
Couldn't be
Doing
better.
well. Look,
Sorry, I'm still trying to get the camera square.
look, it's 10:01, so we're gonna get started, and whoever else joins. So we had this conversation, I think it was 2 weeks ago with the other mastermind group, and I think it's a really timely conversation. So here's $1 million question. Well, here's $1 million statement. The Department of Justice is not going to stop in their pursuit of changing real estate commissions. Like the idea that a person that owns a private home can't give a sales incentive out, it's crazy. You know, you go to court, there is a defendant, a defendant's attorney, a plaintiff, a plaintiff's attorney, a judge, and a jury. And generally speaking, in the history of the United States of America, when all of these different people can agree on something, it's a good deal for everybody, right? But even when they accept these settlements, the Department of Justice says, no, 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 the commissions aren't changing. So they want to decouple buyers agents commissions from listings. So whether that's going to happen or not, it comes down to being able to go where the ball is going, not chasing the ball. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, and I'm going to ask each of you this, and you guys get like a small individualized coaching session here today with David and I, is this: if somebody asked you, what do you do in exchange for the compensation you get paid, what would you say? We'll have ladies first. What would you say?
So say it again. What would you
I
do?
asked you, yeah, I'm gonna focus here. This is where Angela, I'm telling you, and Scott, this is where all of the money is, especially in markets like Greenwich, where people are very like antiquated, slow
No, I
to.
can answer. I can answer that question. I was just repeating it back. What do I do to earn the commission
No,
that
what exactly do you do in exchange for the compensation you get paid? So if
at
I
a
ask you, what would you tell me?
at a high level, I am ensuring that this transaction is going to make it across the finish line, understanding the rules of real estate, the rules of my town, understanding the rules of the banking industry in conjunction with my banking partners, and ensuring that you get this house in the most painless way, ensuring that you get exactly what has been promised and making sure that all that the ancillary facts around the transaction, the inspections, the delivery of the product are going to be to your satisfaction, if not greater than your satisfaction or expectation.
All right, so a couple things. Number one, what is the average price point that you work for? Working at?
Two-ish.
Two is the commission 2.5 or 3% there? 2.5 to 2.
It's two and it's five total, so it's 2.5%.
All right, so $50,000. So you think about this, right? If somebody said those same things, would you write them a check for $50,000? Maybe, maybe not, right? So what I'm trying to get at in this, right? So when you say things are delivered in a satisfactory condition and everything, you can't control any of this stuff, right? So think about this. what's the difference between the Ritz-Carlton and the Holiday Inn? They're both hotel rooms, right? One, it just gets significantly more money than another, right?
Mhm.
Because if you go to the Ritz-Carlton, it is very distinctly clear what you get at a Ritz versus what you get at a Holiday Inn, right?
Excuse me, Chirag, we went down to that place, the Bowie Hotel. They called me 3 times before we arrived. What do you like? How do you like it? Do you like your pillows a certain way? What can we get for you so when you arrive, everything is to your satisfaction? I wrote all these notes down to myself. I'm like, when I have a client come to see me now, what is it that you would like? Would you like me to stop for coffee? Do you not want me to stop for coffee? Are you bringing your kids? Do you need a mask? I took someone out yesterday. She tells me she's autoimmune deficient or something like that. It compromised. She never told me until I arrived. So now I have to ask that question ahead of time. Is there anything you need in terms of health and safety before we go on these visits?
So here's the thing, ready? Now I'm gonna rephrase this, and Scott, you're gonna do this for a listing, right? Next. So I'm gonna say that's a really great that's a really great question, and a fair one that I think you should ask any agent you speak with. We really think of each experience as a curated luxury experience that focuses on three distinct parts of purchasing a home: before, during, and after. And so I'd be happy to sit down and go through with you what your experience is like. And then I would almost flip it on them. And I would say, more importantly, what are your goals and expectations in working with an agent, right? So understanding those three areas and what you offer, right? So I would say, prior to even looking for a house, it is a consultation. In the consultation, we want to know these 5 things. So ask yourself this question and write this down, lock yourself in a room and come up with every innovative answer. If the Ritz-Carlton or the Four Seasons concierge was the buyer's agent, what would they be doing? You want me to tell you? They'd be having a questionnaire. They'd be showing up with your favorite coffee, that little bag that Angela, you make people when they come in.
Mhm.
They'd want to know if your kids wanted iPads to like entertain themselves while they looked at houses. They would bring you preloaded iPads with your property tours and everything on it. After that, they'd collect all your feedback, organize it, they'd send it to you. Like, look, in the end of the day, there's one thing we know for the types of clients we work with. They pay for nice stuff. So
Mhm.
for lower end price points, Scott, right? Like people that might be buying $300,000-$400,000 properties, it might be different for them, right? But people like in Greenwich, Connecticut, that all buy high-end luxury items, they will understand the value of investing in a good service over another. And the only difference between agent one and agent two in this world to people is how clearly, concisely, and quantifiably they could share what they do. So, Scott, if I asked you for a listing, what do you do in exchange for the compensation you get paid? What would you tell them?
I would say, ultimately it's my goal to bring the 28 years of my experience working in local real estate in your neighborhood together with the perfect combination of a curated experience based on the current market conditions in an effort to achieve your goals and get you across the finish line for top dollar.
Okay, so ready? We're going to kill the words top dollar and write this down. Top dollar equals maximize your equity.
I like that.
I'm not going to pay $30,000 to get someone across the finish line, right? So think about all those different jobs and positions and people that you have. Right. So any of you could say this, our philosophy and our partnerships with our clients is grounded around the concept of what we call curated luxury. And you're probably wondering what curated luxury is, right? It's organically anticipating our clients' needs and having them happen before they have to ask. The best luxury services in the world are intuitive. They know what you want because they learn about you, and then they're always ahead to make sure that everything is catered to, right? So I think for all of us, the world is out there for people of really buttoned up transactions, right? Like that your client should never have to ask you for something. Because think about it. If you spend $500 on a hotel room, what do you expect out of a hotel for $500? A lot, right? Imagine $1,000 a night. Now, imagine if you're going to write somebody a check for $40,000, what you expect. This is the biggest opportunity and also the biggest vulnerability of real estate agents. Because if you compare real estate to any other service in the world, it's the most expensive luxury service a person will invest in their lifetime. With the asterisks that people always remind me, someone always says, but it's not more money than plastic surgery, but like that's arguably not like a service. So think about that, right? David, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, this is something we've touched on here and there in the past with lots of our clients, and especially here in the masterminds. But we still see a huge gap between the knowledge of the marketplace and then the skill of managing a transaction, with this gap between being able to communicate that. And Chirag's last comment about people expecting a luxury experience for this amount of money, it's a fantastic way to think about it, because people who are in the luxury travel business, I used to be in travel for 14 years, and people who are in, who handle first class customers in airlines, people who are charging 500 to 1,000 or more for a room night, for example, at a hotel. These people are thinking about this stuff and breathing this stuff all the time. And real estate agents certainly mixing with a lot of those clients, and we are thinking about it, but we're not necessarily communicating it. And everything comes down to our ability to communicate our philosophical approach and the elements of the value that we provide. Chirag's going to talk in a minute, I'm sure, about perceived value and actualized value. And that's a huge piece of this that we have to remember always. We can't simply rely on, well, I've been doing this for a long time, I know what I'm doing. Or I've done, 300 deals and 400 deals in my lifetime, I know what I'm doing. The client doesn't know about that. The client doesn't care about that. What they're having of you is an experience at that moment. How you engage them from the very first moment is their experience of you. And so that's something we can always focus on and always improve. And that's why we're here.
How do you show them? Because it's been my experience that showing is better than telling.
So you want to do buyer or seller?
If we're on the subject of seller,
well, you have a written marketing plan, a written communication plan. There's only three things that people care when selling a house: price, market, and communication. Everything else falls under those three buckets. So that whole med C that we talk about, right? Motivations, expectations, disappointments, concerns. Look, being a great salesperson is understanding this 80-20 concept, right? 80% is your unique value proposition. It's all those years of experience and everything, your local contacts, all that stuff you bring to the table. 20% of a person, the other party, are made up of 10 distinct factors: their goal, their motivations, their expectations, their disappointments, their concerns, their needs, their wants, their desires, their goals, their expectations, and their unique situation. 10. And understanding how to fit your 80, Scott, to their 20. Don't try to sell them all the stuff in your 80, because really, when you ask them the right questions, you're going to know what their 20 is, and you just strip out all the 80 that you don't want. I'll give you a good example. I had one of my best friends is selling a house, and he was set. He's like, and he's a business guy, right? So he's just going to look at numbers and everything. He doesn't understand that agents are different. And he's like, I love you to death. You're like my little brother, but I'm not going to work with a Compass agent, right? Like they're other, da, da, da. And so I was like, all right, cool. So make sure you ask your agent for the 25, because he doesn't live in his house all the time. He's a single guy. He travels all the time. His business is in snowplow contracts, so he's never home. So I said, great, just make sure the other agent gives you $25,000 to update your kitchen and your master bath that you need to do, so you're able to really get the most out of the house. I was like, all right, I'll talk to you later. And he said, wait. He goes, what do you mean $25,000? And I was like, yeah, exactly. I said, oh, so what's more important, how much you pay an agent or how much you net at the end of the sale? He goes, all right, give me the number. And that was it. Right. So, look, it's really important. And Tracy, we're talking about value propositions and how to communicate what you offer. Like if you have somebody, and since Tracy's here, we can always talk about marketing, right? If you have somebody here that has 4 kids, a dog, and is living in chaos, what do you think should be most important to them? All the marketing stuff, or just managing it, making it a simple transaction? It's that, right? So if you focus all on marketing, you're not going to be in rapport with the person. So understanding, I said, just a quick recap. Look, there's in sales, it's 80-20. 80% is all your experience, your features, your benefits, your stuff, right? Like what you do and why people hire you. Now, 20% is somebody's motivations, expectations, disappointments, concerns, needs, wants, desires, goals, expectations, and unique situation. Once you understand how to ask questions to understand what their 20 is, then you could strip your 80 to fit their 20. And then it's very clear what you do in the to meet their expectations. And you'll never lose a listing, by the way, when you know this, because they're always going to say a thing, oh, Scott, Tracy, Angela, you just feel like you're the right agent for me. It'll happen every time.
So true.
This is why good questions and understanding the client is always crucial. You know, Angela was talking before about asking certain types of questions, and this past experience, gave her an idea of some more questions that she could ask. Nothing ever, 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 ever replaces your understanding of the client and those 10 things that Chirag was just talking about. That's why we start, like, our basic philosophy for everybody is do the Med C. Start with the Med C. It's a simple way to begin your process of understanding what the world looks like from your client's point of view. And of course, the problem that most salespeople make is that they're going to rest on their own particular sense of what they offer as value, but they're kind of like coming out of their own mindset. Oh, wow, I've got this great, marketing plan that I can give you. I've got this great communication plan, or, I've sold X houses at this level before. That may or may not be of interest to your client. And if you're spending time talking about something that's not of interest to them, they experience that as a disconnect, not a connect. Right. And the only way that you can connect is to know what you're speaking to. And the only way to do that is to understand what your client values.
That's good stuff, guys. Like, I will tell you, the more I think about it, asking questions that no other agent asks it gets you into coherence with that client.
For sure. What a differentiator it is. If Chirag can say, oh yeah, just make sure the other guy gives you 25,000 to update your kitchen. The guy's like, what? That never occurred to him before. And so that's a differentiator. But it's not just asking questions that are different. It's asking the right questions that are different, right? If you touch it, it's like imagine like tuning a radio, right? Like that person is on a specific frequency and you can ask any questions anywhere on the scale. But if you ask a question that hits that person's personal, frequency, it's not only a question that nobody else asks, it's a question that they really value. And that's it right there. You win. Doesn't matter what else happens. Doesn't matter what else anybody offers. You did something nobody else did in a way that touched them. And so you could say the art of all this is asking the right question in the right way so that the person gets that you get them, right? The point I always say is no one will be influenced by you unless and until they feel connected to by you or related to by you. And the best way for you to demonstrate that you are relating to them is to ask them the right question or give them the right piece of information. That's a connecting experience for you, for them.
I feel like you learn so much more about them when you go through that process, because if you just start to go in and you're like, this is what we do, and here's our marketing, blah, 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 it's like kind of noise, and you have to just dig a little, deeper to see kind of, the more I speak to them in the beginning and just everybody then gets more comfortable, and you can kind of then figure out, why is this move happening? Are they going out of state? Oh, I just found that out. I didn't hear that on the phone call because I didn't ask it on the phone call. It's like when you're sitting in front of them, the relationship building begins.
Well, that brings me to my next point, right? These pre-qualifying questions, when asked in the wrong context and the wrong tonality, sound like an FBI interrogation.
Yeah.
Right? So if hundreds, if not over 1,000 clients we work with, we go back and be like, what's the most helpful thing? Every single one of them goes back to this Med C thing, right? So if you're moving from your house to Manhasset, right? I would say, what makes this the right time for you to make a move? Like moving is about as fun as paying taxes. So what makes this the right time to make a move? You're going to smile, you're going to laugh, and that sounds better than, so why are you moving? Where do you want to go? How soon do you want to be there? And then I'm gonna say, okay, that's great. You want to go to Florida and downsize. Amazing. So what are you most excited about happening as a result of the move? So if you know why somebody's moving and then what they're most excited about, those first two questions trigger the pleasure point in somebody's cortex in their brain. So like, oh, this person really cares. The next question, Tracy, what are your expectations of an agent you partner with for the sale of your home? And then they're going to go and tell you, right? You're going to say, great. And you're going to say, and in an effort to meet and exceed your expectations, it's important to understand what past disappointments you've had working with agents or any service providers so we can ensure that they don't happen during our process together. They're going to tell you, and you can say, ultimately, do you have any concerns? And you'll bring up your common concerns. I don't have a place to go, my time frame, my lease, whatever it is. And the whole key in doing this is, one, how you start the conversation. Number two, resist your ability, Angela, to respond like, oh, that's perfect. You want an agent that does this? Oh, I can do this. No, that takes away from the whole thing. So we always tell agents, start the conversation out and say, hey, Scott, do you mind if I ask you a few really important questions so we can solely focus our time together talking about the things that are most important to you? As soon as people hear that, oh, solely talk about the things that are most important to me, you've got them. So, excuse me, this is like the easiest thing to do. If you're able to do this in the beginning of every conversation with a buyer or seller, they're going to love you. And then at the end of this, you'll know exactly how to pitch them because they're going to tell you all the stuff that they want. So there's no guessing game. There's no any ambiguity. There's nothing.
Your pitch should never be just a pitch, just a shot in the dark, just throwing stuff out into the universe. Your pitch should ideally always be a response to the specific items that you already know that person cares most about. And so you're responding rather than just spewing.
Absolutely.
So questions, comments, thoughts, concerns.
This is timely. I have two previous clients that literally just reached out to me from 6 years ago and 4 years ago. One bought in March 2020. I just was looking up their information because they texted me. And it's funny how even after 22 years in this business, it's so good to hear the reminder of what you just said, because I completely would have gone in tomorrow afternoon. I know them. I'm calling them my lasagna wins because they get lasagnas every year from me. It's probably the only time of the year I have any quality time with them when I'm delivering my lasagnas, and that's it. But I really don't know why they're moving, what's going on. If they're staying in town, they just said, we need to talk to you. Can you spend some time with us? I mean, for all I know, they want to renovate. I don't really even know. But it's really important to do what you just said, because I was going to preconceived notions. They're my clients, of course. I wrote down all these notes. Tell me what you're looking for. Tell me how you came to this decision. Tell me what's important on this next chapter, etc.
No, you literally want to say, don't change. If you change the words, you're going to change their experience, right? So so first you're going to say like, hey, really excited to catch up. You asked me over here, so how can I be most helpful? That's the first thing you're going to want to know. And they're going to say, Angela, we were considering selling our home. Right? That's generally what people say. So the next question would be, is like, great. What makes this the right time, not to sell your home, to make a move? It just sounds better than selling your home, right? And you're going to say, then the next question is, as a result of moving, what are you most excited about?
Well, like that.
These are like nuggets, Chirag.
I know.
I know. These are
Chirag.
total nuggets. As a result of moving, what are you most excited about? That is a freaking bonus line.
That's so good. I need to like an AI version of Scott that Chirag stands in for.
Yes. As a result of moving, what are you most excited about?
Now,
if
you notice this is the nicest way to get them talking. Like, so when you start this conversation, right, they're gonna be like, oh, the timing is this, and this is you're getting all the information you want, but like, oh my God, and you just say, that's great. Don't add in, and your goal in this, on this side of it, the sales side, is to minimally do it. I'd say, oh, great. So you're looking to downsize. Perfect. And like, what are you most excited about in as a result of moving there? And then they're going to tell you, this is where all their ideas come. I'm going to live on the beach. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And then in that moment, you guys are like simpatico, right? Like it's like you're like already, if they talk to somebody else, they're going to be like, wait a second, no one else asked me this. You're going to, and then if you've worked with the people, you're going to say, I understand we work together, but it's really important for me to be clear and on the same page with you. What are your expectations of an agent when you partner with them in selling the home? And they're going to say, Angela, they could sound a little weird. Like, look, I don't take things for granted. And just because you worked with me once, I want to make sure that I'm able to provide twice as good of a service, and things could change and things are different. Now, the expectations part, they're going to tell you, we want an agent to do this and this. Now here's the thing. If they overly focus on communication, you could say that's great. And what are your expectations of marketing, right? If they talk all about marketing, Tracy, you're going to say, what are your expectations around communication? You do not leave that expectation thing without getting their communications expectations. Then where all the money is, like this is where you build all the rapport and everyone loves you. Works really well in job interviews of people you want to recruit. You would say to them, be like, in an effort to meet and exceed your expectations, it's really important to understand what past disappointments you've had with agents or any service you hired so we can ensure none of those are repeated during this process. And the disappointment question, and David could give a little more on the psychological aspect of it. This people are just like, no one has ever asked me that. Oh my God. Because that, like caring, trust, those are all feelings created through interactions and engagements, right? You trust us because of the way we interact with you. If you have a bad idea, I'm like, Scott, this is full of shit. We're not doing it. And that's how he knows I care, because I'm going to fight with him so that he can do better. Right? So David, why is a disappointment like the real psychological connector?
So it's important to recognize that the goal here is to create a connected experience with that individual where they feel connected to by you. It's important to recognize that we feel a feeling of connection with another human being through our emotions, not through our brain. When we love somebody, when we're excited together with somebody, you just won the big basketball championship or whatever, you're doing it together, that's an incredible feeling. When you're incredibly sad, something bad happened in your life, and someone is there to share that moment with you, even if they can't fix whatever the problem is in your life, that's a bonding moment, right? People go through war, they're terrified, they have those experiences together. These powerful emotional experiences that we have with others are what connect us with other people. And so the Med-C is extremely effective, and can be if you do it right, because it touches on some of the key emotions. Motivations is about happiness. That's their happy place, right? Chirag mentioned that before. Disappointments is about sadness, something that they were not happy about before that you never want to happen again. When they can relate to that and you can understand what that is, and then make sure that you're addressing what that is. And then there's the part about concerns, which is about fear. And so when the person is talking about a concern that they have about this particular deal, like, I don't know if I can afford this, or I don't know if I can manage this in my life right now, or I've got to make this happen in the next 6 weeks, and I don't know if that can happen. If they can have somebody there standing by them, holding their hand figuratively, in that moment, they're having an emotional experience that you are actually there meeting them with. And this point in the middle about disappointments, sadness is one of the most powerful ones here. Probably sadness and fear are the two most important ones from an emotional intelligence point of view. And so when you're talking about disappointments they have, they're naturally going back in their mind about how difficult those things were. And they're not just thinking about it, they're having some feeling of it as well, right? The thoughts engender the feelings engender more thoughts. This is what happens all the time. And so when you're asking them about disappointments, you're asking them to connect to an experience that was an unsatisfactory one. And if they can feel connected to you in that moment, that you really are there with them, you really understand what they went through. And then you come back and say, hey, I'm absolutely committed that we're never going to have that experience here. Of course, they're going to be elated. Of course, they're going to feel like, wow, this is the right person for me. And what Chirag said before is right. People will have an experience of all of this and just feel at the end of the time that it's right. You're the right person for me. And it may not be that you said anything specific about what you're going to do, and you may not have even shown them the marketing plan or something like that. They just have a feeling that this person is right because they feel connected to. This is why I always say, when you're working with somebody, you're trying to get somebody to be your client, you need to focus on connection and contribution. Most people make the mistake of focusing on performance or persuasion. This is what most salespeople do. They're focusing on saying the right words, saying the right catchy phrase, persuading somebody to do something. But as long as you're going after persuasion and performance, it's never going to land. But if you're focusing on creating connection and creating contribution, it's almost always going to succeed. That's what we're talking about here. Creating an experience of being connected to. Imagine if you went to the concierge at the Four Seasons for the first time, they don't know who you are. And you say, I want to do something fun while I'm here in New York. What are they going to say? Are they going to say, well, do this, do that? Probably not. They're going to start asking questions. What do you like to do? What do you like to, how do you like to spend your free time? Oh, I'm a big foodie. I love food. I love wine. Oh, wonderful. What is it you like about wine and food so much? Right? They're going to try to gather some information and they curate their response to what it is you just told them. And if they can hit the target with what it is that you're interested in, you say, wow, that sounds awesome. That's just what I'd like to do tomorrow afternoon. Then you're having an experience of being connected to by them and contributed to.
That connection piece is real. I think we've all been there where someone is talking to, multiple agents, and when they say, okay, Scott, and we want to hire you, and they say, we just felt like you understood us. We felt like you understood our goals. So I agree. That connection piece is huge. That's probably more than anything that you could, like you said, present to them.
No, and the important part in this is these are the 4 drivers to human behavior. Everyone has this. There's a motivation you came here for. There's something you're excited happening, right? There's an expectation you had, past disappointments in some sessions where you might not have nailed it that impacted your choice of being here, and concerns, right? Is this a good use of my time? It's going to work out. And the C, Tracy, and all this is, do you have any concerns? Concerns are all the hidden objections that come up in the end. Like, you list somebody's house, you get like 50,000 over asking, like, but I don't know. Why? What do you mean you don't know? We spent months spending this. Yeah, but I just don't have anywhere to go. So I can't take this offer. It's like, are you kidding me? But you need to identify all those things up front. So if you do this with every single person when you start, you will be 100 steps ahead of everyone else. And if you have to compete against other people, it's very hard to lose to this, because the reason is, number one, they're not going to have the same connection rapport. Number two, no one else is going to have all of this very specific information to create a pitch to. Do all 3 of you feel good that if you had this information, you could pitch exactly the experience that they want?
Yep.
Yeah.
By the way, this works in job interviews. You could do this with your partners, your spouses. You can do this with clients, anybody. So ultimately, that's kind of the conversation we're going to have today about, if somebody asks you, what do you do in exchange for the compensation you get paid? Start listening to yourself. I know no one, including me, maybe not David, but wants to hear themselves talk, right? So maybe a video might be harsh, but do a voice note. Then ask yourself, objectively, whatever your average commission check is, would you write a check to somebody for that much money in exchange for what they said? With the majority of agents we meet, the answer is no. So now is the time to get ahead of this. They always say nothing's a problem until it's a problem. Eventually, people are going to question this, because all of you, I would pay you all a check if I had to work with you in your market, no problem. But the idea that every agent gets paid the same amount of money, regardless of their experience, knowledge, skill set, team, resources, technology, is absolutely crazy. That's like saying every handbag's a handbag and that they should all be paid the same. Well, some are better brands, material, there are tons of factors, right? Hotel rooms, right? That's a whole nother one. Cars, that's a whole nother one. Real estate's one of the only industries that's commoditized like this, that any person could bring a client and get paid 2.5%. It's not going to be like that forever, in my opinion. Questions, comments, concerns?
That's an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest opportunity there in the world right now. In the world. Look, for those of you, like the 3 of you who've been with me for a while, I'm spot on picking these trends. And I'm always looking at something different than everybody else.
Well, I think I can honestly tell you that if I didn't believe it before, which I always have, my freaking gold mine is my data, is my CRM. And I'm calling it the lasagna effect. I'm telling you, I don't know how in the past couple of weeks, out of the blue, clients are calling me. I never would have imagined some of these people that are moving. My big $6.5 million listing, which I showed again last night, I don't even have it on the market. It's just a
Wow.
private exclusive. And it's my freaking database. And I sometimes go sideways and I forget that I've got to reach out to these people and just say hello and do the med C for no expectation in return, but just to let them know I'm here for them. And that's 2024 for me.
When you call people, right, think of one thing that you can connect with. If you have a client that you haven't talked to in a while, go on their Facebook, go on their Instagram, and you're going to say, hey, recently I saw this thing happen. It made me think of you. And all I wanted to do was just call and say, like, what's new and exciting in your world? And people will just talk.
Yep.
Like, it's
Yep.
not really difficult. You just talk to people and it works, right? Like,
I'll tell you, I think I missed a big opportunity. Tracy, I don't know if you had anything, but I wrote it on my calendar for next year. Sorry, fellas, that International Day of the Woman. You know, we can do shit for Mother's Day, for this day, for that day. Fact of the matter is, if I'm being very honest, that 90% of the decision makers are the woman. I was out yesterday with someone who's having her second baby. She is literally weeks away, and her husband did not have the pre-approval, and we were going to a sealed bid. That woman ripped him like no one's business. Like she
in
was
front of you?
incensed politely, but she's like, I told you to get this done. I mean, we missed the bid. But the fact of the matter is that the International Day of the Woman, I can do it without politics, without religion, without if you're a mother, if you're not a mother. There's so many things
So
in this world we have to be concerned
everyone
about.
should put on their calendar to have a International Women's Day celebration for all of their female clients.
Yeah, I wrote it down for next year. I said in October, I need to plan it. I need to just do a dinner and just say, come relax. No expectations, nothing.
David, we're going to invite every female client we have next year to our office for Women's Day.
Love that idea. Love it. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, folks, this is something about connecting, right? We just talked about connection and contribution. I've always admired the fact that there is a female sisterhood in a way that there is not a male brotherhood across the world and across religion and politics and all that stuff you talk about. There is something there that people themselves who are in that group connect to. We connect to that. If we're connected to that and they're connected to that, then we're connected. And so absolutely it makes sense. And Chirag's suggestion about, checking their Instagram or whatever instantly puts you into their world, right? Allows the experience of being connected to.
Yep. I think it goes back to the C of that med C. It's the connection. So whatever it is you lean in on. I mean, funnily enough, I texted Scott and Mike this morning because Saquon Barkley is now an Eagle, and then we got a Panther from
I'm a diehard
Carolina.
Eagles fan. Like, you have no idea how excited I am.
I
He
hate
gave
the
your Giants a
Eagles.
big,
I hate the Eagles. But Carolina gave us one of their guys. So
Oh yeah, defensive end. He's
it's any
beast.
kind of connection, right? And Tracy, you're there. I mean, you and your Islanders. I mean, like anytime you find an organic, authentic connection, what we do is not really rocket science. We get paid a handsome fee, but at the end of the day, for us to understand what where their passion lies, if they just had a baby, if they're about to have a baby, like all of these things, these life things, if they just know that you hear them, you see them, I got away from we went transactional during those freaking, after COVID. And I am so happy to just being back to leaning in with my clients and slowing down and saying hello and getting to see them. And God knows I'm
live
happy
in a
to see the
town,
sun.
Angela, where people like coffees, right?
Mm.
Coffees are great. So you should set a goal for 3 coffee. So you got to think about how these numbers work, right? If you went on 2 coffee meetings 40 weeks out of the year, that's 80 people that you had in-person meetings with, right? Like, there's nothing bad that will come out of that, right? So you have to look at this, and I've been on this absolute rabbit hole, like the Matrix, red pill, blue pill, about time management, productivity, and happiness, right? So if you look at your life, you symbolize it in connection, meaning, and purpose, right? Life is all about the connections you make, the meaning you give it, and having a purpose out of all the things you do, right? Who really wants to leave their business and their life and the success of those two to default? Nobody. So really, in the end of the day, the only measure of the connection, meaning, purpose in your life and being thoughtful and driving happiness in all these areas is your calendar. Because if these activities are not in your calendar, guess what? At the end of the year, you're gonna be in the same goddamn place, having the same conversation over and over and over again. So people look at my calendar and like, there's no secret here. My EA role has been a revolving door because I have very, I need a lot out of this person, right? Like, so in the end, I have everything in my life in my calendar. There's like 4 or 5 different like Shrog calendars. There's a parenting calendar. There's a household calendar. There's a group coaching calendar. There's a one-on-one calendar. There's my meeting with the calendars, right? And then when you go into Google Calendar, there's this button, Tracy, called Time Insights. So you can color code all of your activities into different things. And at the end of the week, you could actually see where the hell you actually spent your time. So we've been having our clients go in there and actually put the screen time in their phone. And at the end, I'm like, surprise, surprise, you spend more time on your cell phone than anywhere else in your life. And that is why people's goals aren't going. Maybe the things in your personal life aren't going. Like, it's crazy. One study that I researched said that the average American adult spends 7 hours a day, 40% of their waking life on their cell phone.
It's crazy.
It is
When you
crazy.
start
It's
thinking
so-
about what's that?
it that's the one piece that drives me crazy. And I will say this whole getting in person piece has been, we've done some events that aren't costly, that we partner up with the store, we do something back to a charity, and you don't have to come in and buy something. It's like we had like a great event at Veronica Beard. We're doing one with Jay McLaughlin, and people love it. And it's like we've gotten, not that I'm looking to get business of it, but we've gotten business of it, and we've kind of connected back with clients. Like getting out there and making the time for that coffee or lunch, which we're always running around and we have a million things to do, is I think super important right now.
Yeah.
So, I think that this whole human connection piece, right? Look, if you look at real estate, there are 3 parts of a transaction: before, during, and after. The before and during have been completely commoditized by technology, right? Completely. The after piece is where your relationships lie. And, you should have a plan to make sure that every person every year in your database is connected to multiple times. There's nothing you have more important in a day to do than that. I don't care about your deals or this or whatever it is, right? Because if you're not in touch with these people, somebody else will. I think, who was it? Was it maybe Scott and Mike that were telling me that, like, even when people, they represent a listing and somebody buys, they send the buyers like happy birthday, not happy birthday, happy anniversary cards and everything like that. There are tons of agents that market to other people's buyers because people are bad at following up.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
bet
And
you-
remember we talked about years ago, automating flower delivery.
Yeah.
I just did my taxes. I know about that. Yep. Do you know in Compass, you could actually, if you've tagged everything the right way, you can get an alert at the beginning of every month with all the anniversaries of your clients. But it goes by every month. It makes it so stupid easy.
And the reality is that, if you add up all the relationships in your life, especially as a real estate agent, 90% of them are in the past. If you've been doing this for 20 years, you've got relationships with people who you're not currently selling or working with. 90% of them are in the past category, and there's only a relatively small number that's in the present category. And you're doing whatever you're doing for the future category, obviously spending some time in developing those relationships. But the vast majority of them is in the past. And so if you're ignoring that, which 90% of the agents do, you're giving up on the biggest chunk that you have of relationships. And if you're going to focus on connection and contribution, for example, then you should never forget about those people, obviously.
I had one in my office where somebody called me and I'm looking up at the history and I was like, an agent literally that sits across from me sold them the house 5 years ago. And I said, I'm just curious because so-and-so sold you the house. And they're like, we met her at an open house. That was, we bought the house through her, but we've had zero time spent with her or phone calls or such. So I walked across had a conversation with her, and she's like, "You're right. I never followed up with the people." And they didn't want to list with her. And I was like, "Do you want me to bring her in? Whatever." And they're like, "We don't really know her. We did the transaction with her." And it's like, it's, you know, you have to. It's crazy. It's like, how do you let someone like that, you know, go by?
And any salesperson
Agents are
in
just
business will tell
short-sighted.
you it costs a whole lot less to keep a relationship than it does to develop a new one.
Right.
And yet we don't really follow that.
Look, in the end, like these are people, right? And the way that I personally feel about this is by not staying in touch with your clients, everything that you don't want people to think about you, you've actually manifested for yourself, right? So let me explain this. People think real estate agents do all of this stuff only and solely for money and no care and love out of their heart, right? So when somebody talks to you about all of these different things, right? Like literally, I remember one time I had two friends from high school, right? The woman I knew from elementary school, the other gentleman was like in like my like clique of friends. And it was all her money they're buying the house. And she was venting to me how uncomfortable it was. He's not working as much. This is my, and I had to just sit there and just hear all that stuff. And you realize how personal, right? Who here's heard like marriage counseling type stuff with their clients, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Who here's heard they share so much intimate details of their life that they don't tell anybody. But then after that, you don't talk to them, you don't stay in touch with them. How do you think that makes people feel? It makes people the worst, one of the worst feelings in the world. I think even worse than feeling rejected is feeling used. Right? Like you gave that emotional safety to another person and they made pretend like they're really interested, connected, and followed up with you. If you start really thinking about this from like the other perspective, it's like the end of Usual Suspects. You're like, oh my God, it's Kaiser Sose, right? Like that's what you think. So just be really mindful of that and just reach out to people. If you haven't talked to people in 10 years, guess what? They don't know that you should have called them for the last 10 years. Say, drove by your house. I cannot believe it's been this long that I haven't stayed in touch with you. I'm really sorry. Like, please just share with me what has gone on in that home in the last 10 years. Like, and they'll just start talking. By the way, for all of you, we have live prospecting every Monday at 9:30 and 12:30. So you all at once a week, at least you just join us and make the calls. You know, there's anywhere between 30 and 70 other agents on too, right? So if you have teams, make your teams go. If you have team members that don't want to show up to live prospecting, I would kick them out of your office as fast as the words come out of my mouth. It's bad business. It's your brand.
Yep.
So does anyone have anything in their business that's going on now that they want like advice or support on? Then we're going to wrap this up. Oh, look at that. The
Brad. Hey,
mastermind
Brad.
eligible
Brad
married
Poole.
man. Mr. Poole.
Sorry, Brad, you're muted. Can't hear you.
Sorry. I've been listening to this call. Great information. I don't know if y'all can tell, but I got a black eye
Oh,
from
boy.
softball.
Oh.
From softball last week, but we're flying back from Colorado. Real quick, I've had a couple issues recently where I've missed out on 2 listings, but I was not the last agent they were interviewing. I would love any insight or thoughts on that. But
Send me an
I feel,
email. We'll go through this. Send me an email. We'll talk about this a little bit here, but send me an email and let's hop on a call and I'll walk you through doing it. You got to learn how
Sure.
to one-step close.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing, right? Like that's my go-to now is like get them signed when I meet them. Don't give them an opportunity to meet with other agents.
So that's
But
one path, right? The
okay,
other path is if they're all set on interviewing agents, right? One of the things that you say is at the end of it, like, hey, completely understand that. So if you know you're interviewing agents, number one, I would make a branded sheet that says questions to ask every agent you interview. And you could build these things like, do they have a written marketing plan? Do they have a written
Do you have this, Chirag,
plan?
to send to us? Because you know I hated reinventing the wheel.
No, I've never made one of these, but I could make one.
Yeah, we never have. You're right.
Yeah, we haven't. but
I make one and send it to all of us because we all hate reinventing wheels.
I love it, Angela.
Yes.
Look at his face just light up. Exactly. I was telling people this on the call. You all need to get more out of me on these calls because literally I can make what you want. I can come up with your words.
We know, Chirag, we love that. Let's come on, bring it on.
Tracy wants me to write her ads, which I enjoy doing. She's like, "You're really good at writing ads." My
But you had the
grammar's
little
really bad.
taglines. I was like, oh, done, taking that.
Yeah. So if you think about this, right, one, you want to have that list, right? The second thing is that you say somebody, hey, completely respect the fact that, that your decision-making process is talking to different people. But can we agree on one simple thing? Would that be okay? They're going to say, yeah, what is that, Brad? And I'm going to say, if another agent brings up something that we did not discuss, talk about, or that you find later is important to you, at least let's have one conversation again before you make a decision. Right? And then the other question that you could ask them is there anything I said or I didn't say today that would cause you not for us to partner together, right? And see what they say. Or is there anything, that's why the med C is so important, because subconsciously, when you give them all of that stuff, they're gonna be like, so, you know, the investment for my services is 5, 4, 5, 6%. Would love to discuss next steps, right? Because if you follow our pitch format, right, you're going through the marketing calendar, but then you're also telling them you're going to customize a calendar for them. So there's natural inklings of next things, right? Does your agent provide you a calendar? Do they custom, like, you're going to write all these things out. And by the way, all of these things are already built for you. Like, you don't have to make anything. It's literally on our portal. We built it. It's there. There's videos on how to use it. It's branded for Compass. Like, all this stuff is done. So if you're not using a written marketing plan and communication plan, that's part of it.
Got it. Yeah, no, I do the marketing plan and go through that with them. But to your point, I think it's again, just asking the right questions.
Yep. So what feedback did they give you why they went with other agents?
So this last week, they're building a custom home, and they claim that their builder wanted them to use his realtor, so when their house went under contract, they could get going with the custom build. You know, it was kind of BS, to be honest with you.
And the other
But
one?
I have found, yeah. So I'm trying to think of the other one that happened. That was a few weeks ago. Can't think of it right now, but I've had in the past where I'm not the last realtor and my price that I gave them was to the money. And then the other realtor goes with a higher price point. They go with them and they do price reductions to get to the price I told them. You know, so that's, to your point, price is very, very important in these conversations to most people.
So when you talk about price, number one, it's positioning your home on the market. Don't use words like CMA, price, and all this other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the other agent in that case put the house $50,000 higher, and then after a month reduced it. You know, and I didn't get the deal because of it, 100%. And they were the last realtor that interviewed with them. So that's what it's a common theme here, where if you're the last realtor they're interviewing, you have typically a lot better chance.
You know, I don't know. I want to go first and I want to close. I don't want to go last because
True.
there's no
Yeah,
guarantee
true.
you're going to go last, right? Like,
It's true.
You know
Brad,
what?
Brad, I lost one last week, which I was so pissed off about. The agent is so busy. All she sells is $10, $15 million houses, but she sold $28 million off market in January. And she convinced them to go with her. And then she had to list 3 houses this week. So she convinced them to wait 6 weeks to put their house on the market. And they're like, she said she wanted to wait until the trees were blooming, but she's got 3 other listings coming out this week. I was
wow.
like, are you effing kidding
Wow.
me? Like I threw up my hands and they're like, do you not agree with that strategy? And I didn't I can't disparage I was just like, if that's her strategy, I said, but the market is hot right now. We don't know what 6 weeks are going to look like.
Here,
And sure enough, we got those numbers this morning about inflation and this and that. I'm like, are you kidding
so
me?
here's what I'm going to tell you too, right? No, the other number that nobody comes prepared for in CMAs is how many price reductions if you get the price wrong, right? So you'll have a home that's sold at a certain price point. Like, do you know this thing had 4 deductions? Like, let me ask you a question. Is your market a hot market?
Yes.
So perfect. So you're gonna say if I would ask the seller like this, because asking the right questions when they use their words in their brain, it registers as truth. If you say it to them, they're like, he's just trying to do this to make money, right? So in their brain, when you say to them, do you consider this a competitive and hot market if you're a buyer? And they're going to say, absolutely. So in a market like this, do you are a lot of homes, in your opinion, going at market value, or they're aggressive and some of them could go above? They're going to say aggressive above. Do you ever see homes going under market value, like prices go down? Like, no, not really. So, hey, let me share with you what happens if you price it wrong. And in this, before I even did that, I would say, hey, if you saw a house that went down in price when all of them are going up, what would you think about it? They're like, oh, there's something wrong with it. Like, bingo. This is exactly why in a market, just as you said, Brad, like, this is why you don't want to price a home incorrectly, because, you're 100% spot on, right? So do you see how I took the whole thing and made it their idea?
Yep.
That's what you need to learn. Listen, the number one area besides being able to clearly define your value proposition is learning how to talk to people. This is a sales business. You have to know sales and how to communicate with people. Like, if you're not a good listener and you don't know how to ask good questions and communicate things properly, you'll be leaving money on the table every year. It is the thing that nobody wants to spend any time learning. Tracy, wait, why can't we hear you? You need to reconnect your audio. That's so weird.
Something's going on.
There we go. There we
There you
go.
go.
Yep, gotcha.
Okay. So in all of these different markets, I feel like there's brokers that are coming in and giving these kind of crazy prices. What I did on a couple of last listing appointments I went on was show exactly what we did last year out of like, yes, we sold this many houses, but 32 of them went at ask or above the way we priced it. And I totally zero in when you see the price reduction on the comps that we're using. And I think it's made a difference in some of the conversations too.
I agree.
I love that.
All right, everybody. Anyone else any questions? Brad, shoot me a message and we'll get something set up for next week. So I'm gonna have you pitch me.
All right.
So we'll do the meeting, and if any of you want to join and watch Brad's pitch and watch me critique it
Great.
live, just drop a message in the Mastermind group chat. And if you guys want to make this a fun session, like, a group of us will be on. And look, it should never be more difficult than it is with us, right? It's not going to be harder than that. So I can literally look at every word you say, every material you have, and all the other stuff. So it'll be fun. So if you want to join, just drop in the WhatsApp, and we'll find a way to schedule it and keep rocking and rolling. Tracy Anderson, you need to send me a message too so we can set up our next call.
And we're on today for 1:00 for fireside chat. Yes.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
All right.
I have to
Is that
tell
going to
you-
be recorded?
You can have the recording, not anyone else can have the recording. No.
Okay.
Yeah, we have
'Cause I'm
connect the dots here.
Yeah,
gonna be
it's
on a
fine.
plane.
You'll get you guys have anything we have, you have, right? So it's it'll be fine. So the big thing is it's kind of cool just to sit here, and never in my life did I think I'd be sitting here moderating a panel with these two. And we have no, it's like, Brad, it's like a college house party here. That's the best way I could describe it. They just invited 3,000 people and be like, all right, yeah, anyone that wants to come in live, come in. So we have no idea how many people are going to be here, who's going to be here. There's over 1,700 people registered for the live stream. So it should be a cool event.
Good
And if
luck.
you're really looking for marketing and branding, like, we're just like the promotional partners on like the back end and the production people. But in essence, this is Matt's course. So I think it's a great investment for any of you to join. He just keeps adding more stuff to it. Our team is like, Matt, like, this is great. It's like, nope, we got to put this in. He made an AI guide for real estate agents. There's marketing center templates. There's your monthly, there's like a meeting format. It's pretty cool. And like, he said to me, I'll give you a little spoiler. He's like, do you know what the difference is between branding and marketing? Anybody? I was like, no, this is a good question. He says, marketing is what gets somebody there. Your brand is what gets somebody to buy. So you need to have like the two together, right? So it's like his first session is building a brand system, and then his second session is creating a marketing plan that generates leads. So it's like you need the brand so that when you have leads, people come there and they buy from the brand. Pretty intuitive. So
Good
on
luck
that
today.
note, yep, on that note, please join us if you need the recording. That's great. And somebody come be an audience for Brad. Like this will be a fun
I'll be there for you, Brad.
we
Thank
should
you.
do that one day in our office if anyone wants to come. Everyone get up and give a live listing presentation.
I think
Oh,
that'd be
God.
awesome.
That'd be cool.
Tequila.
I got tequila. I have a full bar. You know that. I got plenty
Tracy,
of.
I love those glasses. Look at you. Oh, you look so chic. All right, guys, I gotta run.
All
Have a
right.
great day.
Bye,
Have a good
everybody.
one.
Hey, everybody, have a good one.
Take care.
Thank y'all.
Bye.